Rony Camille. Today we sit down with Dr. Flanagan, Superintendent of Tyngsborough Public Schools. He started in the district in 1997 as a social studies teacher. Today he now leads the organization through one of the biggest moments in the town's history, the opening of the Tyngsborough Middle School. We talk about what a superintendent really actually does, how the first few months in the new building is going, and the challenges facing teachers and students, and how the school and town have had to work together in creative ways. This is a conversation about not only the district, but how a community is working together while still growing. Here's my conversation with Dr. Flanagan. Dr. Flanagan.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Tyngsborough's Front Porch. Happy that you are here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So for somebody that doesn't know, what exactly is a superintendent of schools, and what does that involve day to day?
Wow, what a great question. So the superintendent of schools essentially is responsible for the overall operation of the school. As you know, we have an elected school committee. There's 7 members of the school committee I report. So I work closely with my admin team. I have outstanding administrators in the district. I have outstanding principals in the schools. But basically, it's the overall operation and really kind of setting the vision for the school as well, and the direction for the school, and prioritizing the needs of the kids, and saying this is what we believe fundamentally the Tyngsborough Public Schools should do, and working to achieve that goal.
Got it. And I mean, you're an educator at heart. You have been with the district a long time.
Long time.
You joined in 97. You started as a social studies teacher. Did you ever, you grew up in the area. You grew up in Chelmsford. You live in town.
I do.
Did you ever envision yourself leading the organization that you started out as a teacher?
No, certainly not.
How does that trajectory happen?
Yeah, I don't really know if you think about it. I think I always wanted to be a high school principal. And that was kind of always the end game for me, the end goal. So I started at Tyngsborough. I taught social studies for 4 years there. And then the assistant principal position opened, actually at the same time the principalship opened as
Yes.
well. Jim McGlynn was retiring and Larry Kelleher retired.
Yes.
Don Champa was applying for the principalship and approached me and said, "Hey, have you ever considered being assistant principal?" And I said, "Sure." I hadn't really considered it, but I would really be interested in it. So we had that conversation. So I taught for 4 years, and at that point, it seemed like a good transition to the next step. So and I worked very well with Don. I was a big fan of Don Champa. So he's like, "We could do this together. We could do great things." And he had this vision. So he talked me into. So Don Champa talked me into being the assistant principal.
And I hear it in his voice too.
Of course. If you know Don, you certainly can. I'm a magnanimous person. But so we had that conversation, and I became the assistant principal in 2001, and I did that for about 7 or 8 years. And at that point, I really kind of aspired to be a principal. And at that point, Don wasn't going anywhere. Don was still mid-40s, and he had just been passed over for the superintendent position, and he was going to be the principal at Tyngsborough High School, what I thought, for the next 15 years. So at that point, I began to look for a principalship elsewhere. And I was fortunate enough to interview and be offered the position of principal at North Middlesex Regional High School. And I did that for 2 years.
Yeah.
And while I was there, Dawn ascended to the superintendency and said, "Hey, we're putting the band back together. You got to come back. I want you to be the principal of the middle school and the high school." At that point, I came back, and I was a principal of the middle school and high school for Tyngsborough.
And during that time too, you're still embedded in the community. You're coaching. You're doing all this stuff and raising your family in town.
True.
And, yeah.
True.
And I say this as you've been part of the community for a long time. When you drive through town, and you visit the various schools, the various campuses on both sides of the river, what is the one thing that you notice that residents might take for granted as far as the schools?
One thing I noticed from like a physical?
Yeah, well, it could be anything physical or just educational or...
Yeah, well, certainly physically, if you go to North Road campus, there's a brand new building
Yes.
sitting there. So we can talk about that later on.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
but I think one of the things that I would want residents to know about the school, it really happens inside the school, is, I'm going to backtrack here. I came to Tyngsborough in 1997, and I never would have guessed that I would have stayed in Tyngsborough. I was coaching football at the time at Merrimack College. I had just worked in the Chelmsford Public Schools. I'm from Chelmsford. I think I envisioned going back to Chelmsford. But I worked in Tyngsborough for about a year, and an opportunity arose in Chelmsford. And I said, keep it. I said, there's something special about this place. I don't want to leave, and I want to stay in Tyngsborough and be part of this. My wife and I were living in Chelmsford at the time. We actually moved into Tyngsborough. And I guess the thing I would kind of say to the residents is we have a special culture in our schools. It's unlike anything else, and it's something that I want as a dad. I wanted my kids to go to the Tyngsborough Public Schools and experience that. I wanted them to understand what it's like to be part of a small community that really looks out for each other. And it was so evident when I was working at the high school that the Clement culture was phenomenal. It was like the kids, they got along, they took care of each other, and it was really special. And I believe wholeheartedly that still exists. I think our kids support each other. They're empathetic towards each other. They value their relationships. And I don't know if it's because of the staff we have or the staff that buys in, but there's something special about this community that I love being a part of. And I guess that's kind of why I'm here, I guess. I never wanted to leave.
How does that affect on the personal side, how does that affect the way you approach decision making as the top person in the seat?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard because I care deeply about this community, and as you think about doing what's best, I always want to drive. What would I want for my kids? What would I want, for my neighbors' kids? And are we making the best decision at all times for kids? Obviously, one of the biggest things is there's not enough money. There's not enough money in public education. That's a whole another conversation in and of itself. But so as we start to think about strategic decisions and doing what's best, I've worked with people in this community or in this town, in the school system for almost 30 years. So it's hard to make some of these decisions.
I don't want to get into what you just mentioned because I have a running track list, but what is the one thing that really makes you proud generally, like in your organization right now?
The staff. Our teachers care about kids. And I think that's without a doubt. And I think that's one of the things that we try to promote. You can teach math, you can teach chemistry, you can teach writing, but if you can't prioritize the kids and make connections with them, I say it when the principals generally hire staff and they kind of give them to me as for a formal, or they come to see me for a formal interview or informal interview, I should say. And I say that to all the new employees that we bring in. The pedagogy's there, the instruction will come. Make connections with our kids. Love our kids and take care of the kids first. If you do that first and foremost and make those connections, everything else will fall into place. Think about the high school. High school teachers, you can't demand respect. You can't stand in front of kids and demand respect. You have to earn it, and you earn it by showing it and trusting them and valuing them. I believe that's kind of the core of who we are as a school system, and I'm very proud of that. So
you have a new building.
We do.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
It was a labor of love.
Congratulations to the community. It was a community effort.
Yeah, for 100%. Sure. And that's not something that happened overnight. That took a period of time.
It did.
How many years?
How many years? So we submitted the first statement of interest in 2011. We were invited into the eligibility phase in 2019, December of 2019. So from December of 2019 through, last Thursday I had another meeting. It's been nonstop. It's been a whirlwind. So it's been a 6-year process. It's been rewarding. It's been informative. It's been a grind. It's been everything. But I will say that the end result is magnificent. It's what our kids deserve, and it's what our community deserves. It's a phenomenal facility.
So, Dr. Flanagan, when you first walked into the building, what was that like? It's a brand spanking new building, and you went through the growing pains, through all of that.
So it's hard to say when I first walked in because I was in there pretty frequently throughout construction.
Sure.
So I saw it a lot at that point.
I said when the keys were turned over, the construction people are
still I will
on
say
site,
this. The very first community tour was incredible. Just to see parents and actually neighbors, people who didn't even have kids in the school that came by to look at the school and the facility, and just to see how impressed they were, how they saw that there's no way we could have replicated that by renovating the existing middle school. We needed to do a tear down and build a new school. We actually had people on that community tour who said to me, I got to be honest with you, I didn't vote for this, but I'm glad it came. I'm glad it passed, and I'm glad it turned out like this, because this really is what our kids need and deserve. So it was rewarding in that sense, because we felt all along like this was what we needed to do. We needed a new school. We didn't need a renovation, and we had to convince the community this is what was best for kids. And to have those people come back in and validate that was kind of rewarding. But to see the kids running around, and to have high school kids say, "Oh man, I can't believe I missed this." I want to be here. I want to do this. And little elementary school kids looking forward to the opportunity to go there. So so it was pretty special, that first community tour.
So the feedback from the students is great. What about the teachers? What are they saying? What's the...
Yeah, I think that if you saw where they were coming from, they can't help but be appreciative to what we have right now. Still, I mean, every teacher's different. I mean, you poll 10 people, 9 people are going to say, do it this way, do it that way. But there are certainly some things that they would rather see, if we had more counter space, if we had another desk, those things. But that's all the small stuff. In terms of the facility itself, the teachers are doing great things in the classrooms. To watch them use common areas and collaboration spaces and the technology that's infused in the building, the teachers are doing great things with it. So for the most part, I think they really love the facility.
There was a lot of investment from a lot of people. From your perspective, what are they getting back now that this building's operational, opened to the public?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting back a facility. We're giving our kids an opportunity to learn an environment that's appropriate. I can't stress that enough. I mean, the old middle school, we had kids sitting in the hallway on the floor. We had to move classrooms because it was single pane glass windows, and the room temperature was up to 83 degrees in May and June. The environment wasn't conducive to learning. We had classrooms that had 2 outlets, one in the front of the room, one in the back of the room. How do you do that when every student has a laptop? So we truly are now in a space that our kids can learn in. And it puts them on even keel with other students. And I feel like we were at a disadvantage in the old facility. So our teachers did a great job to accommodate, do the best they could, but there were limitations in that facility. And now we're in a state-of-the-art facility, and our kids are right there doing great things.
And I know we're 6 months in, this door's opened. How does the district measure the success of, from the past? You mentioned all the conditions that the students were in. Mm-hmm. How do you measure that going forward?
It's a great question. I don't know that you can quantify it in any manner. I guess it's kind of a qualitative measurement to see the experiences and hear the feedback and the authentic reports from the teachers and the kids about their experiences there. I would say, I guess one quantitative measure that you could look at is the fact that student attendance is up and staff attendance is up. So people are excited to come to the school. They're excited to come to work in a great facility. So it's a hard question to answer in terms of measuring.
To shift on the operational sense, and you mentioned the budget aspect of it, what are the major challenges right now in your organization that you want to share with the public?
Yeah, I would say we had a tri-board meeting last week, and really
we are taping in early February, so this was in late January.
Late January tri-board meeting. Thank you. So we had a tri-board meeting last week, and we spoke to the funding issue that the schools face right now. I will say that there are 4 major drivers right now that are impacting our budget. Excuse me. One is our utility costs have gone up. Our utility costs have gone up by almost $200,000. But if you look at that beforehand, they were still going up by 6%, 7%, 9% each year, trending upwards. So that's about a $60,000, $50,000, $60,000 increase every year. We live in a 2.5% world.
Yes.
We can only assess the community 2.5% for property tax. That's generally the bulk of our revenue. We also get Chapter 70 money from the state. Well, Chapter 70 has gone up by like 1.6%. That's the average in the past 5 years. So that doesn't keep track. So when you have these non-discretionary costs like utilities that go up, transportation that goes up by 6% every year, it doesn't keep pace, and it makes it very difficult. I will say one of the other major significant drivers is our special education costs. Our out-of-district tuition costs have gone up by $444,000 this year. That's a 15% increase.
And can you elaborate on that, which something that we've discussed off air?
Sure.
That the district is responsible for students that's starting at the age of?
It's actually the first slide I shared the other night. So our budget, baked into our budget, isn't just Tyngsborough Elementary School, Tyngsborough Middle School, Tyngsborough High School. It's any student that's age 3 through age 22 that's identified with a disability. Any community member identified with a disability, 3 to 22, that's also built into our budget. We also have students that go to public day out of district schools. We have students that go to private day out of district schools. We have some students that go to residential schools, and that can cost upwards of $300,000 to $500,000. So when we talk about these costs, and the cost for those non-Tyngsborough Public schools is set by the state, and those generally go up 3 to 5% every year, except 2 years ago when it went up by 14%. So these inflationary costs that keep going up, our budget can't keep up at that pace. So it's certainly impactful. And we think about teacher contracts and teacher wages. The only way to kind of get to the balanced budget is by having to reduce staff, which isn't something we want to continue to do regularly, but it's something that we need to do right now to kind of keep pace with where we are financially.
And how would you describe that collaboration between schools and the other various school committee, the various committees in town, and try to figure this problem out?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think we all kind of we're one community, and we're one small community, and we understand that. We also all understand that there's one pot of money, so we need to prioritize and have conversations and make decisions on the benefit of everyone in the community. You said it earlier. I'm a taxpayer. I want to make sure that we have enough policemen, firemen, highway department workers to make sure that our roads are safe and everyone's taken care of. So tough conversations have to happen. But I will say I have an outstanding relationship with Town Manager Loisel. He's great to work with. We collaborate closely and frequently to ensure that we're doing the best we can for the community with the money that we have.
You may have answered this already, but I want to make sure I answer. What is the one misunderstanding about school funding here in the Commonwealth that residents may not understand? Here's the opportunity for you to explain that as we head into budget season. One
common misunderstanding about school funding. There's not enough. How about that? There's not enough of it, and the state needs to do a better job. I think a couple of years ago we talked about, a lot of the state legislators came together and they said, we're going to pass the Student Opportunity Act. The Student Opportunity Act will drive more money back into the communities. Well, that's great. But over 115 communities saw zero increase in their budget. Tyngsborough is one of them. So for some of the gateway communities and some of the bigger suburban communities, they received an increase in funding. But there were a lot of us that were left behind in that. So I would say, for those who don't know, the Chapter 70 funding formula, to me, in my opinion, is broken. It needs to be reassessed. It's a conversation that happens every year. And again, it seems that not a whole lot gets done with that.
Looking kind of ahead, outside of this, where do you see Tyngsborough Public Schools 5 years from now? I mean,
first and foremost, I hope that the climate and culture, we continue to prioritize kids. If we can do that, we're going to be okay because everything else will fall into place. We are pushing MTSS and UDL, Universal Design for Learning, and we want our teachers to be as prepared and kind of the first responder for kids in the classrooms. But I'm just trying to think in that manner. Nothing matters if we don't value our kids and love our kids. Right. And I always want that to be the first and foremost thing. I guess that would be my answer.
Okay. I mean, you have that motto. You guys that TPS prepares. I mean, it's like that's in everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Going back to middle school, this project, have some of your colleagues from other districts reach out to you? What sort of parting advice do you give to them if they're going through the various same steps?
Yeah, so we're a close network, my superintendent network, and I actually lean very closely on my buddy Tim, who was the superintendent in Billerica when they built the brand new Billerica Memorial High School.
Yes.
And he kind of counseled me along the way. And right now I feel like I've had a lot of conversations with my friend Jay in Chelmsford and my friend Chris in Westford, because they're both building projects right now. The Chelmsford and Westford are both brand new and early on in the project. Just to really talk about, what are we looking for in a school? What's the best practice here? Are you looking at different options? Are you looking at grade configurations? And having those conversations and thinking things through, and making sure that we message frequently, timely, and accurately to the community, because I think that's important. I think people need to know that we're all part of this. This isn't one guy behind a door making decisions on things. From the visioning sessions that happened to throughout the entire construction and getting kids involved, I think it was a great experience. But keeping the community informed, I think, was critical.
You have a demanding job. What's the one thing that reminds you why you're doing this every day?
Oh gosh, walk through the schools. Walk through any of the schools and see the kids. I have to be honest, like elementary school is not my wheelhouse.
It's not?
As a former high school person, but the kids are energetic and just, my favorite time of year is May, June. To see the opportunity for us to kind of come together and celebrate our kids at graduation, at moving on ceremonies, at award ceremonies. It makes me proud. And one of the things I'm most proud of is right now I walk into the high school and I check that board right there next to the main lobby, and it's got every college that our kids have been accepted to.
Yes.
And it really is a prideful moment for me when I read that and see we're sending kids to great places. We're preparing kids to do great things. And walking through the classrooms and seeing the kids, that's what kind of keeps you grounded up.
Dr. Flanagan, is there anything else that you want to tell the people of Tyngsborough while we're here? I value your time, but I want to give that to you.
No, just have confidence. Have confidence in your schools, knowing that our teachers are incredible. They work incredibly hard and they do a great job, and they're there for your kids and they prioritize your kids. That's the biggest message I can say.
Dr. Flanagan, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Our thanks to Dr. Flanagan for joining us today. You can learn more about the Tyngsborough Public Schools by visiting the town's website at tyngsboroughma.gov. For the town of Tyngsborough, I'm Rony Camille. Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, wishing you